Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Unbettable. I'm your boy Holmes here with Gary. Once again, me and Gare, we are riding solo today. No Mondo, got caught in a work meeting at the end of the day today, so we are going to carry the show today. Gare, how we feeling today?
We're good. We got to reignite the spark that was there a couple months ago with, Bull Gators. So we're working on it. I'm sorry that we've kind of been slacking, but we're here and, let's get this shit rolling.
Yeah, all right. I love to hear it, Gare. We'll get right into it then because we have not talked about sports, honestly, in a long ass time. So we're going to try and hit almost everything today. We're going to start off with the NBA playoffs, touch on these conference finals that have been going on, both in the East and the West. And we'll start with the East because this series is already over. The Celtics sweep the Indiana Pacers to move on to the NBA finals. Listen, I thought from the beginning that the Celtics would be able to take this series. Maybe the Pacers would give them a little bit of a challenge, steal one game, maybe two. But honestly, I did not think that the Celtics were going to man up like this without Kristaps Porzingis and just sweep the hell out of the Pacers. Granted, I think part of that has to do with Tyrese Halliburton's injury. The Pacers' best player not being able to be there is obviously going to affect them pretty bad. So this was, I think, a little bit unexpected for me in terms of just how quickly the Celtics ran through this series, and now they're already on to the finals. Like, Garrett, how do you feel about this series, man? What intrigued you about this?
I mean, nothing really intrigued me. It's more of like, I guess the only thing that intrigued me was the series. Four zip is obviously brutal. I mean, last night, if you watched the Tim's Dallas game, you obviously saw the start of potentially history. Tim's come back and get a big dub in Dallas. Now they're 3-1. But back to the Pacers. Out of these four teams that were remaining, I feel like the Pacers were definitely the dark horse when it comes to just level of skill and amount of talent that they have. Again, with their best player being out, it's tough. But at the same time, did I expect them to get past the Celtics? No. So, I mean, honestly, I feel like, obviously Luca is really hot right now. He's making a lot of big plays. And then at the same time, a big man, a Gator great, Al Horford for the Celtics. I mean, just banging threes like that. That's what intrigued me. We'll say that was his
All right.
performance in that third game with seven consecutive threes, I think it was. Like that was nuts from him. So good on him. But yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think having Al Horford like really step up in the absence of Kristaps Porzingis. I mean, this guy's still doing it, man. Like he won back to back chips like almost 20 years ago in
He's old.
college.
Yeah.
Like this guy has been banging around in the NBA for a long, long time. So you got to give him his credit. And I know that was probably one of the reasons they brought in Kristaps Porzingis at the beginning of the season. You don't have to play Al Horford as much, but when we need him in these playoffs, he's well rested. He's ready to go. He puts up a big performance for you. That was money. Jaylen Brown was fantastic through this whole series. Earned the well deserved series MVP. I think you just got kudos to the Pacers though for making it this far. I honestly didn't think that they would get past the Knicks. They had to take them to 7 games. But honestly, the Knicks just fell apart because they were just depleted. So many injuries. They did not have enough gas in the tank to be able to make it down the stretch. So I honestly thought whichever team was going to be in this battle with the Celtics were going to have their path to the finals, man. I mean, they could have gotten stopped in the first and second round, but being able to breeze through those two, this was one of the most easy series they had, as evidenced by this sweep. It was kind of ridiculous. But you did touch on the other game, Gary. I'll let you kick this one off. Give me your thoughts on the Timberwolves and the Mavericks. This series also could have been a sweep, but just last night, the Timberwolves were able to keep themselves back in it, make it to 3-1, possibly the start of history, like you said, Gare. But give me your thoughts on this series. How are we feeling about this one?
Yeah, it was kind of funny. It was like, Shaq in the post game interview was like, every time that I was down 3-0, we got swept and I got my shit and picked it up. And he said that was one thing that he admires about, this young Timberwolves team is the fact that they were resilient enough to go to another team's, home court and still put up a fight and still win and still show that they still want to be in there. Now, that's great and all. We can have a hallelujah song and dance if they actually make it. but I really don't think they will. I mean, Dallas, like I said with Luca, bro, he looks evil right now, bro. He is cracked out. He is not
Yeah, it
missing.
is.
When he makes a shot on you, he is letting you know this series, or at least this year. I mean, the memes that I have seen of Luca, I mean, one of them that, I'm not even going to talk about it, but let's just say that Luca had a Burger King hat on with a long set of blonde hair staring at
That was a
another NBA player.
crazy meme.
So
Crazy meme.
he's definitely been in the public eye for a little while, but good for him. I think he definitely deserves it, and I think it's time for him to finally, solidify his name in that championship, kind of hall of greats. So, let's see if they can do it.
Totally, dude. He is, like you said, I don't think there's any other way to describe him other than being literal cracked out right now. Like, I mean, offensively, he is just on another level. He's actually putting in, I feel like, more defensive work in these playoffs specifically than we've ever seen him do before, which is really, really impressive because as good as he is on the offensive side, it's always been like, all right, well, can he play any defense? Because anybody can score on him. Now he's actually putting in that work. And a lot of credit goes to Kyrie too, bro. I remember when this combination came together, everybody was like, how the fuck is this gonna work? Two ball dominant ass guys, like
Yeah.
not willing to pass, but big shoot first. Like, dude, that's nobody knew how that was gonna work. And I think finally, like, you're just seeing an amazing chemistry between them. Kyrie has bought in on the defensive side as well. Like, I mean, they just seem like they are so in sync. And even though it's taken maybe like a year or two to get to this point, I mean, dude, they were a game away from sweeping the Timberwolves and going to the finals. Like it's just they've looked really, really impressive. You got to give them a lot of credit. On the Timberwolves side, man, like it's just been a different series for them. I don't think Ant has been able to play the way he was against the Nuggets. He's been getting a lot of fouls and a lot of fouls early. Cat has looked nowhere near like himself, except for last game, last night. I mean, he absolutely put on a show and did what he needed to do to help his team win. But I mean, in three previous games, he's not shown up at all. So Mavs have completely taken over. I agree with you. I think they're going to be the ones to be able to take this series. Tim's, I think, might be lucky to be able to steal this game five, but I definitely think the Mavs will be able to close it out. I do not think history will be made coming back from 3-0 deficit.
Yeah, I mean, when you have these four guys that we just talked about so much playing involved ball, it's hard to stop them. And that's the big thing. Because, I mean, you look at like big stars like, I don't know, LeBron, KD, people like that, people that when the ball is moving down the court, they're kind of staying behind and watching all the action. These guys are in the action 25-8. And I think that's kind of what is so great but so bad about Ant is we were talking about this foul trouble is he's willing to get in anybody's grill if it means he can get a contested or a block shot. And
Mm.
sometimes he's just got to let it go. And I think that if he can't learn that, then he's not going to be able to play, the full, what is it, 48 minutes of, this next game. But we'll see what
Yeah,
happens.
great point. Great point. Absolutely. All right, Gary, we touched on basketball. I'm sure by the next time we come back on, we'll talk about our finals matchup. But let's move to the NHL because, boy, the hockey is cooking right now, Gary. It's cooking. We'll start with the Western Conference this time instead of the East. The Oilers and Stars in their Western Conference matchup. The Oilers stole game one on the road in Dallas. And boy, it looked like the Oilers might have a pretty severe advantage in this series if their goaltending was going to be able to keep up. But whew, the Stars have looked dominant in games 2 and 3. Got their second win or their game two win at home, excuse me. And then game three, they're able to take one in Edmonton with a huge come from behind victory. Honestly, I was talking about this with somebody over the weekend. May or may not have been when I was inebriated, but I do hold true in this point. I think if the Stars make it to the Stanley Cup final, regardless of who they play, I think they will win. I think they are that team destined right now. Their combination of offense, defense, goaltending, everything is clicking right now for them. Jake Ottinger is undoubtedly one of the best goalies left right now. There is a ton. Bob has been great so far. Igor Shesterkin's been amazing for the Rangers. Jake Ottinger's right up there, man. He has been phenomenal. The goal scorers that they have for Dallas, the way they're able to play such phenomenal defense against Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, all the speed that the Edmonton Oilers have, dude, it's impressive as fuck. And I really, really do think that if they make it to the Stanley Cup final, they will have every opportunity for them to win. I cannot say the same about the Oilers, at least from what I've seen so far. I want to see Connor McDavid make it there. He's such a talent. He deserves a cup. I would hate for this guy's career to be wasted. But man, this looks like the Stars' year. Gary, you have any thoughts on this series? You've been watching any of these games, keeping up with this. What do you think about this?
I mean, I think it's about time that the Stars kind of got their flowers. I think the only reason they really have it in the past or they haven't right now is because they don't kind of have that it factor player on their team that everybody knows of. You know what I'm saying? So, but the one thing that they do have is a cohesive team that knows how to play great hockey. They didn't really get their flowers last year either, whenever I think they made it into the second or third round of playoffs. I mean, they have been there every step of the way. I think the only thing that really hurts them is, like I said, their lack of a superstar, which obviously isn't hurting them too bad. And then the fact that, the city of Dallas is in their name. I think that's really the only reason that they
Mm-hmm.
don't get the recognition they deserve. But I
Facts.
definitely think that they could make it on the Connor McDavid aspect side of things. I mean, he'll always be one of the greatest to ever touch the ice, but it's kind of like a Charles Barkley curse. Is kind of what we're watching here, is where he just can't get it done. But I also don't think this year is going to be his year either, unfortunately.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's a phenomenal comp, like the Charles Barkley of the NBA. I mean, he just you feel like he's gonna get right there every time. But in the past few years, we didn't know if he had the right pieces around him offensively and defensively to make it happen. Now this year, it seems like they have all that talent, but the goaltending is lackluster. Like, yeah, man, I want to see him do it so bad, but I don't know if we ever will. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
But let's move on to the Eastern Conference because Gary, I'm sure you'll have some words to say about this series. The Panthers and the Rangers have been going at it, tied 2-2 in this series. We are going to 7 games. Actually, no, we're not going to 7 games. Could go to 6. Never know. But
Yeah.
this has been a phenomenal series so far. Panthers blank the Rangers 3-0 in game 1. Bob throws a shutout in New York. Phenomenal. Games 2 and 3, Rangers have to win both in overtime against some of the greatest games that the Panthers have played in the postseason. Arguably, they could and should have won both of those games. Rangers come away with 2 wins. Panthers are able to win their overtime game last night at home to even it up 2-2. Like, this series has been nuts. I have been watching every game of this series. I am definitely a lot more dialed in on this one than the Western Conference. I've been watching both, but man, I am just so invested in this. And maybe it's because the Panthers knocked out the Lightning. I'm interested to see how far they go. The Rangers are the President's Cup trophy winner this year. Like, the curse doesn't seem to be affecting them at all right now. Igor's playing amazing. Bob's playing amazing. It's physical as hell. Rangers aren't getting enough shots off. The Panthers are getting tons of shots off, but it's still tied 2-2. Gare, this series is crazy, bro. This series is crazy. I'm gonna let you take it away. Give me your thoughts on this because it's a wild one.
I mean, I think that if anybody watching this podcast has never watched hockey before, this is the greatest introduction to hockey you will ever get, is watching this series right here. I mean, both teams are beating the shit out of each other, but at the same time are playing fundamental hockey. Also, one thing that I feel like you kind of left out, but I think is a big part of this series, is the power play motion. A lot of power
Yes.
plays in every game. The Rangers have been able to capitalize on it. I think better than the Panthers. But at the same time, that's because the Panthers are committing some stupid ass fouls here and there. So, it's just like, I truly think this series will go to a game 7. I think it's super contested. And these are, in my opinion, the two greatest teams that are left in this season of hockey. Put it that way. Like, I feel like this is the battle of the two powerhouses. I know we talked about Dallas a lot, but like this series is like it's really good, and I think it's good for the sport. I think that's one thing like people should touch on is, hockey obviously is pretty popular, but when you get these contested series where people are brawling or people are scoring pretty fast, like It's good for hockey for sure.
Absolutely. It's a ton of fun to watch. So just for all the reasons you just said. Not only is it physical, they're fighting, they're going at one another, they're throwing elbows, committing penalties, all this shit, but they're playing with skill, they're playing with finesse, they're scoring at these opportune times. I'm so glad that you brought up the power play because that has been an integral part in the series. We knew coming in that the Rangers were one of the best power play teams left in the playoffs. I mean, they score at will on the power play. It's actually insane to see how they can tee it up. And really, the Panthers have had their fair share of chances there, especially like even on breakaway opportunities. They've had a lot of chances to score. And you got to give just so much credit to Igor Shesterkin because some of these saves, I don't know how the hell he's doing it. I mean, the Panthers are peppering this guy with shots every night. The shot disparity in between these two teams in every game is ridiculous. The Rangers are very methodical. They want to find their correct shot because they know if they get it, they're going to score. Panthers don't give a damn, bro. If you give them any open space, they're putting it on the net. Both a great strategy. They're 2-2 right now. I mean, nobody really seems like they have the upper edge. I'm so excited to watch this hopefully go 7 because I'm right with you, Gare. I think that it'll go 7. I think it's great for the sport if it does. Just like you said, keeping it so contested and fun for people to watch, even if you're not into hockey. Man, this series goes crazy, dude.
I mean,
Absolutely.
it's what's playoff hockey is all about, really. I mean, people talk about playoff basketball, but playoff hockey, it's almost like a different sport. It's so much more
Yes,
entertaining.
absolutely. Absolutely right about that. I love that shit. So yeah, I'm sure the next time we'll talk about this too. Hopefully, we'll be talking about two teams in the Stanley Cup final, but who knows, man? They could be a game 7 by the time we're talking about this next. Uh Here, we'll keep it rolling here and we'll transfer over to another sport. We'll go to baseball and we'll kind of round out the day with baseball. But we'll start with the big boys first. We'll start in the major leagues. We'll just touch on some headlines that just kind of started out in this first about a third of the season that we're already through so far. I think the biggest one just happened a couple days ago. Ronald Acuna Jr. goes down with a torn ACL on the opposite leg, the one that he did not tear 2 or 3 years ago, I believe. So he has now torn ACLs in both of his legs. Going to be out for the season. Obviously, he was on an MVP pace. Like this guy's a stud when he plays. This has to be a major blow to the Braves, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's brutal, especially that it's in another leg. I don't think people really realize how easy it is to re-injure an ACL tear, especially for a player that's at the caliber of Ronald. I mean, man is one of the nastiest hitters, stealers, runners. I mean, he literally does it all except pitch.
Mhm.
And he's been the star that the Braves really need. And this is, I mean, I think the second crucial blow to the Braves, that right next to Spencer Strider going out pretty earlier in the year. So these are two really big pieces to the Braves puzzle that they're going to have to learn to play without, at least for the remainder of the year. Um, but I mean, I really don't think it's the year of the Braves either. I'm still riding with my Phillies. I mean, I'm not a Phillies fan, but my prediction was Phillies to go all the way, and they have not proven me wrong at all. So
Yeah, they're cooking.
yeah,
They are cooking. Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be tough for the Braves. You know, you lose your ace in Spencer Strider, you lose your MVP in Ronald Acuna Jr. Like, I get it. Baseball is not an individual sport. It is the most team centric, probably out of the big four, in terms of if one player goes down, you can still supplement that with other players. But two players of that caliber to go down, yeah, I think that is just a definitely tough thing for the Braves to have to handle. One thing I will note though, just the Braves future betting market out there. When Ronald Acuna Jr. last tore his ACL, Braves went on and won the World Series. Just putting it out there. Just putting it out there. We'll move on. Paul Skeens. Dude, I know we've briefly touched on this guy, but Pirates played a doubleheader today. Got blanked 8-0 in the first game. Offense didn't even show up. Doubleheader, Paul Skeens Day. Pirates absolutely show the fuck up. 10-2 dub for the Buccos. Paul Skeens, I mean, just this line, 6 innings, 3 hits, 2 runs, 1 walk, 9 Ks, 70 of his 96 pitches, 70 of them were for strikes. This guy is ridiculous, man. I cannot emphasize enough like how amazing of a pitcher this guy is going to be going forward. He's 2-0 already right now, the 2.45 ERA, 30 Ks, a .91 whip. This guy looks freaking unhittable right now. It's actually ridiculous. And I think it's starting to get to a point where there's so much hype around him. Every time he takes the bump, Pirates lineup is like, we got to fucking win for this guy. Because this guy's going to literally give us a great chance to win every single game. It's crazy. Any thoughts on Paul Skeens? Because this guy's dominant.
I mean, this could be a franchise revitalizer here for the Pirates with the way
Yeah.
that he is performing. I mean, it's like people are going to the games just to see him pitch. I mean, I watched it today and the crowds look pretty stacked.
Mhm.
And they were really only there for one reason. And I don't blame them. And also, the stat that you talked about with the strike zone, bro. I love that. I love that he's not afraid to actually throw a hittable. I mean, with Paul Skeens, it's most likely unhittable because your brain and it's not even going to register it in time. But like, I love that we're kind of seeing a shift where like people are not scared to get in the zone and test the batter like that. That's what we like to see, especially in these games that are quicker, with the run, with the pitch clock. You want to see some shit go down. So
Mhm.
keep laying it in the strike zone. Even if they don't hit it, it's still better than watching a fucking ball, you know what I mean? So
Yeah. Great point. I love that. Yeah, dude lives around the strike zone. It's amazing the rate at which he's doing this. Touch on a couple more baseball things. Garrett, I want to get your take, brother. What is your biggest surprise team so far this year? And I'll give you a couple options. Right now in the AL Central, Cleveland Guardians are leading the Central at 37-18, but only 3.5 games behind them are the Kansas City Royals. Absolute wagon this year. No idea where they came from. Bobby Witt has been a stud for them this year. But over in the National League, Milwaukee Brewers leading the division at 31-23. Like, dude, their lineup has kind of come out of nowhere. Their pitching has given them enough. I mean, any surprise team for you out of those three? Any that I didn't mention? I mean, what has surprised you so far about the season?
I mean, the only player that I could name from Milwaukee, I think, is Christian Yelich. So if that shows you anything, I'm obviously surprised that Milwaukee is doing something. I feel like it's been a while since the Midwestern baseball team has kind of showed up. But I mean, with Cleveland, bro, J-Rom, like he's not missing. I think the other day he had not 4 home runs, 4 hits, 1 home run. I mean, he's just going nuts.
Mhm.
And then the last team we mentioned was who?
Kansas City.
Kansas City. Yeah, Bobby Witt, dude. I mean, if you play MLB The Show, you know Bobby Witt, 99 speed, has infinite contact. I mean, it's truly representative of how he plays like in real life. I mean, he's not a slugger, but he's getting base knocks, and when he gets base knocks, he can turn it into extra base opportunities simply because of his speed. So good on all three of those I mean, Yelich, I don't know if he's doing anything.
He's
But
not
good
bad.
on
Yeah, he's had decent season, decent season. But yeah, I mean, I'll touch on the Royals a little bit too. I was just curious at Bobby Witt so far this year because I know he's been ridiculous, but I wanted to see the stat line for myself. And everything you just said reigns completely true. 15 doubles leads the team, not or six triples leads the team by a wide margin. Not only is the contact there, he has 9 bombs, tied with the team lead with Salvador Perez, who has had an amazing season so far. Guy that a lot of people thought maybe should be retired at this point, hitting 322 right now. Whoa, Salvador Perez. He has 16 stolen bags. He's hitting 303. Like, I mean, he's doing it all at the plate, man. And he has gold glove caliber defense, too. He looks really good and comfortable out there at the shortstop spot. The pitching has been nails for the Royals. I have no idea where these guys are coming from. I mean, we know Brady Singer, obviously, being a Florida guy, and it's not even like he's going out there getting 9, 10 punches every time. He's just efficient, going out there, keeping the hits to 4 or 5, runs to 1 or 2, just giving his boys a chance to win every single time. Oh, Reagan's has been ridiculous. Seth Lugo has been ridiculous. I don't understand where these guys have been coming from and just all of a sudden like putting this team in contention. Dude, last year this was easily one of the worst teams in the league. And right now they look like a serious contender. I mean, they are going to be battling for a while. But Garrett, before we move off of this, obviously I have to ask you, we're both Rays fans. And the Rays, man, we are kind of in the shitter right now. We are in the shitter. We're in fourth place in the American League East. We know our division is tough, but dude, Toronto's half a game behind us right now, and they're in last, and they suck this season.
Yeah.
So, I mean, give me your thoughts on the Rays, dude, because it has been very tough to watch this team.
Yeah, man, it's not even like a lot of these games are necessarily blowouts. It's like, the team, like both teams kind of go quiet for majority of the game, and then it's never us, it's always the op. We'll hit some I mean, prime example, literally yesterday, 3-run bomb,
Yep.
and we fucking lose. Sorry, I just got a phone call, fucked up my laptop screen.
Very
Um,
good.
but yeah, like it's just the Rays are just not playing like the Rays. Randy Arozarena is not hitting the ball. I feel like this is something that not a lot of people want to talk about or talk about, but I feel like what's his name? Paredes definitely kind of fucked people over mentally with his whole entire, scandal. I feel like it's something that obviously
Franco,
Franco,
not
sorry.
Paredes. Yeah,
Wander Frank. Sorry.
yeah,
Sorry, Mr.
yeah.
Ladies. But Wander, like I feel like that's something that not a lot of people talk about, obviously, because it happened so long ago. But I feel like these players, being associated and friends with him, I feel like that kind of has to have some sort of tamper with, your play style. But our pitching, bro, is just ass.
Yeah, it
It's
is. Yes.
horrible.
Yep.
So that's what my main thing is. I think pitching is the main killer to blame here.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I mean, both sides obviously aren't getting it done, but the pitching, man, a 4.29 team ERA is awful. Like, that's just so piss poor. Our starters have been nothing to write home about. Honestly, our best one has been Ryan Pepiot. We got in the trade for Tyler Glass now. The kid looks like a younger version of Tyler Glass now. He's pumping in gas. He's starting to go 6, 7 innings. Look like an actual bulldog out there on the mound, but Savali looks like trash. Eflin does not look anywhere near as good as he was last season. Alexander's here and there. I mean, and then doing the whole opener, sometimes starter bullshit with Zach Littell. Like, I'm really over that. Another bright spot, I will say, Taj Bradley. He's looked fucking great in almost every start that he's had coming back off an injury. I'm so excited to have him back in rotation finally. But touching on the hitting too, like just like you said, Randy Arozarena, buck 59 at the plate right now. Jose Siri, buck 68 at the plate right now. Brandon Lau, buck 49. A ton of these guys are just producing at such a poor level. Guys that we need to depend on game in and game out. They are not doing it for us. And a guy you mentioned wrongly, but it's okay. Isak Paredes, this dude's leading the team right now, batting 296, having great at bats every time he gets up there at the plate. Like, yeah, 9 home runs leading the team. Dude looks awesome right now. I have no idea how we fleeced the Tigers out of this trade a couple years ago, but this guy just looks like an easy cornerstone piece at third base right now. I love the way he's swinging the bat. The defense is there. It's everything you could ask for from him. So, a couple bright spots here and there, but other than that, man, as a team, I'm starting to wonder if that Wander psyche is getting to him too. Like, that's such a tough thing to have to happen to one of your friends. Like, there's no way that if you would ask any of these guys on the team, you would not say that guy is not a friend.
Yeah.
Like, he is somebody that they have definitely regarded as pretty close to them. They've been teammates for a long time. It's just such a unfortunate situation. You have to think at some point, all these guys are human too, man. There has to be a point where maybe this affects them to a level that we don't even see. And maybe this is it. This product on field is what we're seeing out of it. Really, really shitty situation.
Yeah.
But Garrett, we'll wrap this episode up today. We'll make this quick. But Florida Gators baseball, it has been a while since we have talked about this dreadful team. Somehow we have made it into the NCAA tournament. We have made it into the playoffs by the skin of our teeth. I have no idea how we did it. We are such a piss poor team this year, but our strength of schedule was, I think, number one. Our RPI was pretty high as well. So I think those metrics really, really helped us out. But we're going to be playing in the Stillwater Regional, which is a double elimination tournament with 4 teams. It's going to be hosted by Oklahoma State. We're also going to be in there with Nebraska. and Niagara University. Interesting team there. I honestly think as bad as we have played this season, as shitty as we have looked at some points in this season, this is a very, very winnable regional. There have been a lot of teams that are a lot better than Oklahoma State and Nebraska, who are obviously the teams that are ranked higher than us in this regional, teams that should be better than us in this regional. I think we definitely have a chance to be able to be the upset team in this regional. Gary, do you have any thoughts on what we might be able to do here, advancing in this regional?
I mean, the mentality has to be there, bro. I mean, like everybody on this team has to be thinking about what happened to us last year. I mean, if you're not, then you're a dummy. Straight like that. Like, if you're not thinking about what happened to you last year, you shouldn't even be on that team. And I'm sure Sully has told him the same shit. Obviously, don't live in the past, but think about what happened and think about what could have been and think about what we have lying in front of us here, which is an opportunity to go out and turn a really, 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 really bad season into something that could potentially be like, okay, I mean, the Gators suck dick during normal season, but when it comes time for postseason play, these boys show up. And that's how, I mean, it hasn't usually been that way. Obviously, we don't usually suck dick during regular season, but postseason play has been consistent in the fact that we're not gonna, I mean, knock on wood, knock on everything in this fucking room. We're not gonna get booted out first round. And I mean that's in the hopes that we make it there, first of all. Which I think with these teams that we have to play against here, shout out Aiden, fuck Nebraska. But I definitely think it's possible, like, for us to come out and win this, and keep it pushing. But it's that next round that we were talking about before we started recording that I think is gonna be the real vibe killer for us Gator fans.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. We were talking about that right before we hopped on. If we are somehow to move out of this regional, we are playing the winner of a regional that consists of Clemson, Coastal Carolina, Vanderbilt, and High Point. If you know anything about Clemson, Coastal Carolina, and Vanderbilt, those are three of most quality teams this year, I would say. Vanderbilt, I would say, didn't have maybe the best SEC season of all time, but when it came to playing the Gators, they beat our ass. Coastal Carolina, they have had a ridiculous lineup all season. I mean, they put up double-digit runs at will. They are very, very dangerous. And then Clemson has just been one of the best teams in the league all season. They have been in the top 10, I think, through week one. I mean, they've been unstoppable in almost every facet. Maybe they've started to fade away a little bit here in the back half of the season, but still a great team, man. They're still going to be a really, really tough team to compete against. So we're going to wish the best for these Gators. I hope that they make it out of this regional. It can turn, like you said, a really bad season into something that we're at least hopeful for going into the next season with a lot of young arms, young bats, guys that should be here next year to hopefully take us even further. Gare, any final thoughts before we sign off today?
One thing I'm gonna talk, well, not even really talk about, but I'll mention, R.I.P. Grayson Murray. If you haven't heard this story, truly tragic in the golf world. But the only reason I'm gonna mention it is, check in on your homies, check in on your brothers. Sometimes you just never really know what somebody's going through. And unfortunately for this man, it was just too late. So always make sure to tell your friends I love them. Your family, just be happy. And I love y'all boys.
Amen, Gare. I love you too, kid. Great way to end out the pod. If you did enjoy, please like, please rate, please subscribe, please share, please do anything to help us grow this amazing podcast. We love getting to do this for you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Until the next episode, he is Gare. I am Holmes. Peace.